Before we even entered the old Medina, Fez had already surprised us. When most people picture the city, they probably imagine ancient streets, traditional buildings, and a place that feels almost frozen in time. But our first experience was completely different. We stayed at Hotel Sahrai, and from the moment we arrived, Fez felt calm, modern, and surprisingly luxurious. The large glass bathroom, marble sink top, and marble bathtub gave the whole space a very premium feel. It felt as though marble had been used throughout the entire room, from the bathroom surfaces to the coffee table and bench. The smooth finish, natural patterns, and slightly reflective surfaces made the space feel brighter, cleaner, and more expensive. It also created a sense of visual consistency, tying the different areas of the room together and giving everything a calm, polished, almost spa-like atmosphere. Even the towels felt luxurious, finished with Hotel Sahrai branding. The bedroom was beautifully designed, with a huge bed that looked especially inviting after the long journey from Marrakech. On either side of the bed were matching bedside tables with warm lamps. There was also a telephone beside the bed, which we used to request help with ironing our clothes. A member of staff came to take care of it for us, completely free of charge. It was a small service, but it added to the sense that the hotel had considered the practical details as well as the appearance of the room. Even the tea and coffee setup felt premium, alongside city alley water served in glass bottles. The tea provided in the room was from Wright, and it was genuinely one of the nicest hotel teas we had during the trip. It had the familiar strength and richness of Yorkshire tea, but with a slightly fruitier flavour that made it feel a little more refined and unusual. It was the kind of small detail that added to the premium feel of the room. Rather than providing a basic, forgettable tea selection, the hotel had chosen something that actually felt enjoyable and worth sitting down for. There was also a coffee machine available, although we didn't end up using it because we were more than happy with the tea. There were also a few extra drinks available to purchase from the fridge. We didn't end up buying any, but it's nice to have. All drinks are replenished by hotel staff when the room is cleaned. There were slippers and a laundry service available too, which again, we didn't take advantage of, but it's nice to have. One of the standout details was the traditional Moroccan tiling on the wall, with a spiral pattern and a flower in the center. This style draws on the tradition of zellige, and Fes is widely regarded as Morocco's leading center for the craft. Each glazed tile is traditionally cut by hand into small geometric pieces before being carefully assembled into a larger mosaic. The flower-like center resembles the rosette motifs often found in Moroccan Islamic design, while the repeating shapes create a sense of movement, balance, and symmetry. We were also given small gifts of traditional spices and nougat, and the nougat was honestly delicious. It was a modern luxury room, but the Moroccan details gave it a real sense of place. Stepping outside, the peaceful atmosphere continued. The hotel is surrounded by trees and greenery, making it feel surprisingly quiet, despite overlooking one of Morocco's oldest cities. There was also a huge swimming pool, although because it wasn't private, we decided not to use it. It seemed the local birds enjoyed it more than we did, gathering around the edges throughout the day. Breakfast was served in a calm and relaxed setting, which added to the hotel's boutique luxury feel. There was a wide selection of fresh breads, with both Moroccan and international options available. Despite the variety of bread available, many of them were too hard and looked like they'd honestly cut the inside of my mouth. There were some gluten-free options available too. Freshly made omelettes were also available on request, and we decided to share one. It arrived perfectly cooked, soft and fluffy in the middle, with fresh ingredients that made it feel much better than the standard hotel buffet version. And I'm an absolute sucker for cheese, butter and bread, so the breakfast selection was very much made for me. Between the fresh loaves, rich butter and different cheeses, I could easily have ignored everything else, and been completely happy with just that. Alongside fresh orange juice, there was also a green detox smoothie for something a little lighter. Our plates also included a selection of cheeses and smoked salmon, giving breakfast a more premium touch. There was a decent choice of fresh fruit, including melon, oranges, and grapefruit. There were some items kept inside warm plates, including roasted vegetables, broccoli, scrambled eggs. There was lots of variety, good presentation, and a peaceful atmosphere during breakfast, which all added to the luxury boutique experience. But one of the nicest moments came from one of the waiters, who kindly made me an incredible pot of traditional Moroccan atay. He told me that he had brought the fresh mint from his own home and offered it to the hotel's guests. I took the pot back to our room, and it was honestly one of the most delicious cups of atay I had during the trip. It was a small gesture, but it made the stay feel much more warm and personal. The The nighttime views from the hotel were just as impressive. As the daylight faded, the city gradually lit up below us, with scattered lights stretching across Fez and the old city taking on a completely different atmosphere. From the hotel, everything felt calm and distant from the movement of the streets. It gave us the chance to slow down after traveling, enjoy the view, and take in the scale of the city before exploring it properly. It was the perfect place to pause, recharge, and appreciate Fez from above, before stepping into the narrow streets, historic buildings, and constant activity waiting for us inside the old Medina. After the calm luxury and stillness of the hotel, we were about to experience a completely different side of Fez. Our guide led us through this small, narrow entrance so tight that we had to walk single file, and into the maze of the old Medina. As we emerged on the other side, we were immediately greeted by the beautiful architecture of the Zawiya of Sidi Ahmed Tijani, a religious complex and mosque containing the tomb of the revered scholar. This was our first glimpse of how deeply spirituality is woven into Fez, where saints, mausoleums, and sacred sites appear throughout the old city. What makes this place remarkable is its global reach. Followers of the Tijaniya order travel here from across Africa, especially Senegal, to visit the tomb of its founder. Slightly off-piste, we passed a small bakery and our guide asked whether we wanted to look inside. Of course, we said yes. Inside, we got a close-up look at the traditional process of making bread, with fresh loaves being prepared and baked straight inside the oven. Back outside, we continued deeper into the Medina, passing rows of small shops tucked along its narrow streets. That's one of the fascinating things about Fez. An ordinary-looking street can suddenly lead you somewhere filled with centuries of history. Our next stop was the Nejjarine Museum of Wooden Arts and Crafts, located within Fez's UNESCO-listed Medina. The building was originally constructed in the early 18th century as a fondock, which is a traditional inn and trading center where traveling merchants could stay and safely store their goods. Traditional woodwork can be seen all along this courtyard. Inside, we saw the original scales once used to weigh merchants' goods, followed by traditional measuring tools and wooden planes used to shape and smooth timber. These are traditional squares and angle marking tools used to measure timber, mark straight lines, and create accurate corners before cutting. These traditional tools include a marking gauge, an adze for shaping wood, and dividers used to measure distances and create accurate curves. The long iron clamp was used by local carpenters to keep pieces of wood firmly in place while they worked. These are traditional wooden hand planes, each designed for a slightly different job, from smoothing rough timber to cutting grooves and shaping decorative edges by hand. This traditional wooden spinning wheel was used to twist and wind fibers such as wool into thread or yarn, turning raw material into something ready for weaving and textile making. The wooden kneading plate was an important part of everyday Moroccan household life. It provided a sturdy surface for preparing bread dough, reflecting how bread making was traditionally done by hand and remained central to daily meals and family life. This is an example of decorative Moroccan woodwork, likely once used above or around a doorway. The carving and painted details show how wood was incorporated into traditional buildings as both structure and decoration. One of the shops our guide took us into specialized in traditional bronze ornaments. The staff demonstrated what they described as the difference between higher and lower quality pieces, although as visitors it was difficult to know whether this was purely educational or partly part of the sales pitch. Either way, the shop itself was beautiful. A back room was packed with traditional decorations, including elaborate bronze lamps and detailed animal statues. Even without buying anything, it was fascinating to walk around and admire the craftsmanship. No matter where we walked in the old city, there was always something beautiful to notice. Even the narrowest streets were filled with details. Heavy wooden doors reinforced with metal studs, carved lintels above entrances, painted ceilings, exposed beams, and projecting wooden balconies that seemed to lean over the alleyways. Much of the woodwork was both practical and decorative. It framed doorways, supported upper floors, and added warmth and character to the buildings, while the carving showed the patience and skill of the craftsmen who made it. Alongside the wood and tiles were carved plaster panels, horseshoe arches, and repeating patterns that made even ordinary buildings feel carefully designed. What makes Fez so special is that this craftsmanship is not limited to one famous monument. It appears above shop fronts, inside homes, around courtyards, and throughout the narrow alleyways. The entire Medina feels like a living museum where centuries of Moroccan architecture are still part of everyday life, rather than something preserved behind glass. Then there were the tiles. Traditional zellige appeared around fountains, courtyards, entrances, and lower sections of the walls. Each surface was built from small hand-cut pieces arranged into geometric patterns, often using deep blues, greens, whites, and earthy tones. We were completely captivated by the traditional wooden architecture throughout the Medina. What made it so striking was that you didn't need to be standing inside a famous monument to see it. This was simply an ordinary street, but as soon as you looked above eye level, the buildings revealed carved wooden beams, projecting balconies, decorative panels, and beautifully aged doors. The wood added warmth and character to the narrow streets, while the detailed carving showed just how much craftsmanship had gone into even the most everyday buildings. It made us realize that in Fez, the beauty is often hidden above you, so it's worth slowing down and looking beyond the shop fronts. Those same design traditions continued when we visited the city's historic Qur'an schools. Inside, the carved wood was combined with geometric zellige tiles, decorative plasterwork, and peaceful courtyards, creating spaces that felt both educational and deeply spiritual. We also passed the Al-Qarawiyyin Library, part of one of the Islamic world's most historic centers of learning. Its collection preserves centuries-old manuscripts documenting Morocco's scholarly heritage. Fez has long been one of Morocco's most important centers of Islamic learning, with madrasas providing education and accommodation for students studying near the famous Al-Qarawiyyin. This is the Safarin Madrasa, founded in 1271 by the Marinid Sultan Abu Yaqub Yusuf. It is considered Morocco's oldest purpose-built madrasa and was the first of several established by the Marinid dynasty in Fez. Centuries later, it remains connected to that educational tradition, still serving students of Al-Qarawiyyin University. We arrived in Fez just a day or two before Eid al-Adha, one of the most important celebrations in the Islamic calendar. Across Morocco, families were preparing for the traditional animal sacrifice, with much of the meat later shared among relatives, neighbors, and those in need. In the Medina, that preparation was visible everywhere, including local blacksmiths carefully sharpening knives for their customers ahead of Eid. We were approaching the final stop of our tour, but Fez still had a few surprises left for us. Our guide first showed us some traditional dye workshops, where fabrics and materials were being colored using methods said to involve natural ingredients. As visitors, it was difficult to verify exactly what was being used, but it was still fascinating to see this craft continuing inside the Medina. We then entered a shop whose name and exact location I honestly couldn't tell you. That's part of the experience in Fez. You turn through so many narrow passages that even the shops can feel like labyrinths of their own. Inside, the architecture was incredible. Traditional details covered the walls and balconies, while an enormous chandelier descended from the ceiling through several levels of the building. It felt less like entering an ordinary shop, and more like discovering a hidden palace tucked away inside the Medina. Finally, we reached the last stop of the tour, and getting there felt like an adventure in itself. Our guide introduced us to one of the store employees who was incredibly polite, friendly, and full of personality. Before we even saw the tannery, the smell reached us first. We were handed fresh mint leaves to hold near our noses, which helped slightly. The strong smell comes partly from the traditional tanning process. Bird droppings have historically been used to soften the hides, with the ammonia helping prepare the leather before it is washed and dyed. The shop opened onto a balcony overlooking the tannery, giving us the iconic view that Fez is famous for. From above, we could see the rows of stone vats filled with different colors, surrounded by workers moving between them as they treated and dyed the leather. Seeing it in person was far more impressive than any photograph. The scale, the color, and the activity below made the whole scene feel alive. The shop sold a huge range of locally made leather goods. The leather itself felt thick and high quality, although the finishing and stitching on some of the bags seemed less consistent. The store was called Tannery Siddiq, and although we reached it by walking through the maze of the Medina, there is actually another entrance from the opposite side, so you don't necessarily need to repeat our entire journey to get there. I ended up purchasing a camel leather bag, and on our way to get cash, we came across the perfect final image of the city, the enormous old Medina stretching out below us after a full day of narrow streets, hidden workshops, historic buildings, and unforgettable characters. And with that, our journey through the old city came to an end. Next, it was time to discover what Fez had to offer at the luxury end of its food scene for our evening meal. After 4 hours exploring the Medina, we were completely exhausted, so the fact that Nomai was only a 10-minute drive from Hotel Sahrai was very welcome. We started with a duck and fig salad alongside crispy sushi rolls. Both were beautifully presented and tasted excellent. For our main courses, we went for a pizza and a mixed seafood pasta, giving us something comforting after such a long day of walking. We had originally planned to try dessert somewhere else, but by then it was getting too late, so we stayed and ordered Nomai's tiramisu tart. It was pleasant, although personally I still prefer a classic traditional tiramisu. Altogether, the meal came to 740 dirhams, which worked out at around £59 and 20 pence. Considering the setting, the quality of the starters, and the amount of food we ordered, we thought that was pretty reasonable. We found our guide through Get Your Guide, and the booking process was surprisingly easy. We booked at around 7 in the evening for a 10 o'clock start the following morning, and the team responded very quickly via WhatsApp with all the information we needed. Both group and private tour options are available, with the latest prices shown directly on the listing. I won't mention exactly what we paid, as prices may change between the time of our visit and yours, but keep in mind that private tour will cost more than a group booking. So, is Fes better than Marrakech? For entertainment, restaurants, and a faster-paced city break, Marrakech probably has more to offer. But for history, traditional craftsmanship, and a city that feels less shaped around tourism, we preferred Fes. It felt more immersive, more atmospheric, and closer to the Morocco we had hoped to experience. That brings our journey through Fes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know where you'd like to see us explore next. We have plenty more travel adventures coming soon, so we'll see you in the next one.